is cool, and we love technology. But can science answer everything? Here are 10 of the most puzzling science mysteries that science has not to resolve but impact so much of your life. Hey everyone, this is 108, the channel where we give you the latest and greatest topics you probably never thought about or thought about them like this. On this video, we are tackling 10 science puzzles that leave scientists scratching their heads for the answers. These are big-time questions that affect so much of our lives. So, why haven't scientists figured it out yet? Before that, please give us a like as we make this content for you and subscribe to our channel so that you can get the latest updates on new videos we upload. Number 1. Science fiction goal of time travel. At one point or another, humans have thought about time travel. Can we do it? Will things happen like stuff from Back to the Future? And while science has not figured that out, it remains one of the greatest mysteries of science, and even science fiction, it remains unsolved. Heck, some laugh at the idea altogether. But over at our friends in neurology and cognitive psychology, there is a promising set of research. In her books like Counterclockwise, Ellen Langer, often called the mother of mindfulness research, did a fascinating study based on non-mind-body approaches and focus. On one study, they took a group of elderly people and made themselves live as if they were in their younger years, even replacing words like was with am. By the end of their study, the group had reduced their blood pressure and improved their memory. Another study took chambermaids who always wanted to exercise and lose weight. The team then asked them to think of their chores as exercise already, since many of the chores were similar to gym exercises. The result? A lowered BMI and lowered blood pressure. They even did a study on the 20/20 eyesight in reverse. It's no surprise that the Flash is the only one that remembers when he changes the timeline. And while science says that this is not time travel per se, is it technically? Number 2. The power of the dreams. Ever since the advent of psychoanalysis, there has been much interest in the nature of that thing that we do when we go night-night, the stuff of our dreams. Though many authorities of science dismiss Sigmund Freud or Carl Jung's ideas on why dreams exist in the first place, these views remain thoroughly popular even among scientists. This is because dreams are often mythic, leading to different images with no clear logic as to why. Emerging research has done brain imaging studies to note that while in sleep, the body is active and the mind is at rest. Note, this is why your body tries to wake you up voluntarily, especially when under a threat. But it leaves a question still. Yes, the mind is resting, but why conjure up seemingly random images? What is it for? And so far, scientists are figuring out a satisfying answer. This is often why people get intrigued by the ideas of Freud, who believed in repressed desires, and Jung, who believed in archetypal imagery. And until cognitive science finds a more compelling answer than just, they're a mix of images from days before, psychoanalysis remains vibrant. Number 3. The mystery of butterflies in the stomach. Many people know about gut feelings. You know, those often intuitive judgments we make based on something Are butterflies in your stomach that you're not too sure about? As it turns out, many neurologists and doctors are not too sure about that either. The most science knows is that aside from our brains up in the attic, there is a second brain that is somewhere below that. The second brain is populated by bacteria, most of them considered beneficial. In fact, recent studies have pointed out that we are 90% made up of bacteria, which is shocking to some. Dr. Stephen Gundry highlights this in his book, The Longevity Paradox, in which he stresses that these bacteria want to stay alive, making efforts to signal the human host to make decisions and ward off pathogens like viruses based on that want. If this is true, this has massive effects on a lot of aspects in life, including health, our thinking patterns, and even our relationships. Some even speculate that the primary cause of depression is likely a bad gut. Is this all true? Does the fate of humanity rest upon a set of venom-like symbiotic bacteria willing to keep us alive? Nobody knows for sure. Number 4. A Tale of Two Brains. As we grow our understanding of the human brain and all the amazing things that come with it, neurologists and cognitive psychologists are baffled at the mechanisms of the brain. See, science has postulated two brains. Specifically, there is a left brain which deals with executive function, decision making, and is normally associated with logic. Then, there is a right brain that is responsible for making quick, rapid decisions and is associated with spontaneity and creativity. The question scientists have a hard time answering on this topic is what brain dominates or should dominate in our everyday life. The cognitive psychologist Daniel Kahneman, in his book Thinking Fast and Slow, interprets that left-right brain imagery and places them as System 1 and System 2. The first System 1 responds almost automatically and with a hot cognition. The second System 2 responds deliberately and with a cooled cognition. It also requires a heavy amount of glucose to maintain. Kahneman notes the classic example of 1 plus 1 as a System 1 response and an equation like 2 times 35 divided by 8 as something that requires System 2. We mostly use System 1, but we live in a world that demands System 2 decision making, often with money. This neurological and psychological paradox to this day remains unsolved. Number 5. What made us human? Charles Darwin popularized the search of man's origins via natural selection and the theory of evolution. Much of science relating to the origins of man has reached tapestry-like scale. Humans have been warlike, vying for competitions like the chimpanzees. Humans have also been polyamorous and made love to multiple partners like bonobos. The thing that evolutionary science is sure of is that we separated from our ape ancestors when we developed big brains. Right, having a huge brain is probably something we take for granted, but we are here because of it, it seems. But since those findings, what could have made humans develop brain power compared to other mammals? That is still up for debate and remains a mystery, especially to scientists who believe in the randomness, the likelihood of things occurring. Some evolutionary scientists have made it a point to prove it was cooked food that enables us to gain nutrients and calories that were not available to a plant-chewing gorilla or a sporadic meat-loving lion. Cooking also adds to the idea that we socialized over a fire, developing verbal language, not just speech. But some scientists have countered to that and claimed that projectile and focus on throwing stuff, which developed mathematical precision, is what helped our brains to grow. There are just too many variables up for consideration in order to resolve this one properly. Number 6. The mystery of water. Did you know that much of the ocean is 95% unexplored? While it seems plausible, it is because of all those Jaws movies and creatures like the Kraken or its supposed older iteration, the Hafgufa. Many scientists point out it's salt that makes the water dense. The fact that it gets pretty dark down the depths add to the horror implications of it. Also, with water spirits and other freaky creatures that have adopted much differently due to the pressure. But aside from the mystery of the ocean depths, water is a mystery by itself. Though probably influenced by his native Shinto beliefs, Nobel Prize winner Masaru Emoto had conducted experiments to prove that water has memory. In his experiments, he shows images of water changing its shape based on different emotions or intents he plays on it. From beautiful flowing designs where there is positive, blissful emotions and crystallized ones when they come into contact with focused intentions. For the most part, the findings are coming to the level of pseudoscience. Nonetheless, it is added to the mystery that water already has from various phenomena. Is this why some water tastes better than the others? Or why some waters heal people? Or is this an added factor why the ocean remains unexplored? 7. The mathematic search of squaring the circle. Yes, there are more pressing problems than figuring this age-old mathematical problem. In fact, many have pointed out the triviality of this pursuit. In terms of figuring out a circle, you take the value of pi and multiply that via the radius squared. In terms of a square, you take the base of the said square and you multiply that by itself. But the problem occurs when you put the circle and a square together in exact proportion. Aside from the fact that this challenge has been made since a long time ago, and it pestered thinkers and scientists for years, it has value to all of us. To many enthusiasts, Leonardo da Vinci came close when he made his Vitruvian Man, using the navel of the human body as the key difference. It is interesting to note the connection between navel and navigation here. But even up to his deathbed, many sketches reveal Da Vinci's continued attempts to square the circle, leading some to interpret his previous attempts as unsatisfactory. To people of science, squaring a circle is not only a scientific and mathematical problem, it represents the human search for figuring out the perfect solution for everything. And although there has not been a satisfying answer to this problem, save the Vitruvian Man, science speculates that if we can figure this problem out, we can figure any problem out, objectively speaking. Number 8. A cure for the emperor of all maladies. There are many problems in the human body that biologists have a problem with, from viruses, plagues, and pandemics to all sorts of maladies. And then there is the emperor of all maladies, as people note, cancer. Well, Known author Siddhartha Mukherjee has long been fascinated with genetics as well as the cancer cell, and he is not alone. Many scientists have been trying to figure out this problem. Mukherjee highlights that cancer has been a problem that remains without a cure since the ancient Egyptians. Doctors have since resorted to treating patients with radiation chemotherapy or surgery to deal with tumor growth. Often, they are wary of fasting cancer away or alternative medicine. Other scientists, however, are keen on trying to understand the cancer cell on their side of the telescope. And while not a cure, some have referred to research indicating that a cancer cell is inhumane and grows rapidly because it does not care about its host, so much as its own survival, kind of like a virus, but something that human cells do, which remains why human cells make these inhumane cells in the first place. Number 9. Is God the ultimate universe designer? The question of God is no doubt an ever-present issue that scientists have had ever since science began, as far back as ancient Greece and the Enlightenment period. Scientists still have not been able to figure out where exactly God hangs around. Is there even a place called heaven, and is it the equivalent of a pocket dimension? Although these are all speculative, there are some interesting proposals based on string theory and theories of emergence. God, according to science, seems to work on a more complex set of hyperspace mathematics, and some of the products of those mathematics we see here on Earth are in the form of the golden ratio, fractals, and chaos. If you remember art class and the rule of thirds, the golden ratio often gets a shout out in those. The golden ratio of 1.618 is an irrational number that does not often operate to conventional Euclidean geometry. This means, instead of squares, it uses curves as a dominant pattern. Scientists that study unparalleled dimensions posit that other than this universe and Earth, other dimensions would not operate on the golden ratio, though this is obviously inconclusive. The golden ratio, which seems to work as God's protractor or string, affects via fractals and a subset of effects, namely chaos. Fractals, especially in the natural world, are a term to designate components that have a self-similarity. The classic example of self-similar fractals is trees. The base of a tree and the branches of a tree are quite proportional to each other, which has led to call the branches as little trees. Along with proportions that are self-similar, these proportions often appear as random occurrences to the eyes of many. A classic example of this, which is often attributed to as chaos theory, is the butterfly effect, where one event from one point affects an uneven distribution to another form, often in the form of fractal self-similarities. So, when people refer to God's ways as mysterious, are they actually referring to very, very sophisticated mathematics? We might never know, but these theories are really good to start with. Number 10. A scientific picture of the afterlife. This is an ever-popular question, and another one that science has yet to solve. What does the afterlife even look like? It has been said that there is life after this one. But since it is tied to religion, the majority of scientists scoff at this idea, and some embrace it. Take a page from David Eagleman, author of the book Some, 40 Tales from the Afterlives, who uses neurology and science fiction to deal with this particular question. The tales themselves are questions that science writers have asked but without the religious overtones. These tales can range from something we have thought about since childhood, such as, what would our life look like when we die? Do we get to live life in reverse? And some of these tales can get downright gruesome, such as, what if we live our lives in chunks or segments, such as all times we were angry gets all placed in one go and then proceed to the next chunk of emotion? Throughout this questioning, many viewers cannot fathom this because we still need that elusive sixth sense. Though it is, as David Eagleman believes, the key to getting to the next step, it remains unsolved. Hi everyone! You just watched 10 of the most baffling mysteries scientists have a problem resolving up to this day. Do you agree with the list? Did the list shock you? Did we leave out things that should have been there? Did we leave out things that should have been there? Please drop by the comment section and leave some of your comments, cause we'd like to know.